solve some of the world's toughest challenges. And by Iron Vine Security, a DC-based cybersecurity company that specializes in risk management solutions for public and private sector enterprises. Well, here they come, these teams raring to go. It's Major League Rugby. Really looking forward to this one. Mid-season here, and these teams need a win, especially that team in blue. Let's take a look at the lineups right now. DC's lineup brought to you by Iron Vine Security.
Same tight five as last week, with big man Stan South leading the pack. Of course, Tavita Nungale makes a return after injury sustained in week 1, and Don Bailey gets the start looking to ignite this team. As for the backs here, Mike DeBoulis is a longtime OG player, again returning from injury. Look for him to set the composure of the back line and unleash the speed of Penny Lasanga, someone we haven't seen very much this season.
And for the gold, they need a win too. They're presented by Louisiana Tourism, and that big front row is going to have a job to do. We talked about Dolan. You called him a pest, and I think he's going to need to be one today. And keep an eye on Karoy. If he can get this scrum going forward, he's going to be dangerous, the big Fijian off the back. And behind the scrum, they'll want to be going forward as well. The international pairing of Stevens and Coleman will try and run the show, try and boss this game. Meyer's been in outstanding form at fullback. He'll try and create some opportunities for Wheeler and Depperschmidt on the outsides. And of course, you need the bench, you need the impact subs.
First for Old Glory, take a look at Facundo Gatas at 16. He's a Uruguayan hooker who just signed with the team last week. Also look for the likes of Corey Daniel and John Lefebvre to really add some energy and spark off the bench. And of course for NOLA Gold, you look at Devereaux Ferris, JP Eloff, Nick Feeks. All three of them had outstanding games last week against New York, and look for them to take it to Old Glory.
So the stage is set. There is their man in the middle, Luke Rogan, brought to you by Advantage Referee Communications. Aaron Davis and Craig Sikowski on the sidelines. And of course, one of the great things about Major League Rugby, we get to hear from Nick Hannon, the television match official. He'll be looking at any controversial scoring plays. Should be a good one here. See a little bit of a blustery wind there. We're going to be able to check in with Rolly Pratt on the sidelines.
Ready?
Let's see what's going on. And this man has been rewarded for a very positive but brief appearance last week. DeBoulis in at 10.
Time on.
Can he make a difference? It's Old Glory, DC, in the blue jerseys, kicking off to NOLA Gold in white. Deep kick, it's gathered. No nonsense there, just getting his team back at the halfway. And as you see that official's touch flag on the far side, you see it flapping around, but a good clearing kick there.
Yeah, especially, we'll talk about the keys of the game in just a second, but here NOLA Gold wants to play in the right areas of the field. Kickoff receipts are not something to be looked over, and that was something that Damian Stevens did well, is he had a nice returning kick into Old Glory's own half.
First line out, so important, set piece. There they arrive late. Barely straight, but play on. A little bit of a tension there for Tusitala. He's obviously a key man for Glory, so NOLA's going to put the body on him. It's Fraser. He puts it through the hands. A good bit of width here. And the sun is shining. It looks like pretty fast track out here. So, Old Glory happy to... A few tip passes, a few offloads. Good support by Stan South, the man we identified. Now they put some length on this ruck. That may mean
use it.
Tusitala is going to put the boot to it. He didn't have a great week with the accuracy on these box kicks. That one looks a bit better weight, and they'll be able to compete for it. Flying up. Go Glory. But they're not able to get their hands on it. So first touch for NOLA Gold in attack. A team that has real danger throughout, but have been a little bit inconsistent. Maybe summed up there as Coleman's forced to clean it up. He waits for Damian Stevens, his 9, to arrive. Good chop tackle there. So
no,
good defense,
inside.
DC, that'll be a positive start. Forcing NOLA Gold to kick, and you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Tusitala did a good job of controlling right from the onset. Kick was a little bit in the middle of the field, which you maybe don't want to see, but look for NOLA Gold to be a lot more aggressive on defense. I talked to Coach Kane Thompson yesterday. He was saying they need to be more aggressive, and you see they're challenging more in the breakdown.
Well, that ominous number, 55% chance of rain. Cuisine Solutions bringing us the weather here. We'll see if the wind picks up as it did last week and had a big impact on the DC game. Another solid line out. They're doing well. Doug Fraser comes in from the short side. He's met pretty much at the gain line. That's a good go forward there. And the speed of ball is much better already in this match. Luke Campbell, the strong carry. He got some good, often difficult to attain yards last week, and he's won the penalty, and the local crowd love it.
And that's a good job of Danny Tusitala here. You want to give a nice picture to the ref. He was able to kind of keep the NOLA Gold guy in as he was trying to wriggle out, making that an easy penalty, an easy call for the ref.
That's a shanked kick. He was going for the sideline, but it's going to be dangerous as Coleman is looking up, and he's actually knocked it on.
And
wow, what a strange play.
Wow, totally lucked out there. And, you know, you got to give credit to Lasonga for, you know, not giving up on that kick and just really giving pressure to NOLA Gold. That is not how they wanted to start out. They were doing a good job of playing out of their half initially. And now let's see if Old Glory can control the pack here, something that they struggled with last week. NOLA Gold's going to want to really play big right here. First scrum of the match always dictates how it's going to go between these two packs. Let's see if Old Glory can do something. And just the replay here again. I think NOLA Gold was kind of caught off guard there too.
Yeah, good work from Penny Lasonga trying to contribute, trying to make a bad kick good. He almost did.
Saw your head out.
We talked about the importance of the scrum. Kyle Stewart in there in the one jersey for DC, called in very late after an injury to Jack Carroll. So he'll join Aaron Mescu and Ilnicki in that front row. Of course, Ilnicki joining the side from the Seattle Seawolves this season. Already we've seen set piece.
Crouch.
Big part of this.
Bind.
Pressure now, pressure now, pressure now.
Set.
Seems to be a bit more solid. 5 meters out. Old Glory, DC, looking for something positive to get their season underway. They go through the hands. A bit of a floated pass. In fact, it's man and ball. But how well does Talatayani do? And he's going to set up Dougie Fraser, who's inches from the line. Short, says the referee. They retain possession. Again, just feet from the line. They're plugging away. Now, lowering his body, lowering everything. Taikanini, what a hit.
Just really great stuff from Old Glory there. And, of course, the veteran Api Nakatini, of course, formerly of the 2019 champions, the Seattle Seawolves. This is a guy who has just been phenomenal with Old Glory, one of the best names here.
Well, we talked about the set piece, and that sets up everything, doesn't it? But a really good, really positive attack from Old Glory.
And look, this is what we just talked about. Old Glory need to set the tone here and have a really nice scrum, and they did a good job. Wonderful platform for Tusitala to get that ball out quickly. Unfortunately, a missed tackle right here. It looks like he might have also injured himself in the meantime. But look, Talatena does a good job fending him off. And of course, Fraser does all he can to get to the line, and you see two big carries from the forwards. Old Glory needs to play big. You saw first a carry from Stan South, and then Api Nakatini to dot it over.
Well, if they're tuning in Sigatoka, Fiji on the Rugby Network, they'll be dancing because their man, Nakatini, has got an all-important first score for Old Glory. And what a lift to their spirits. It's been a hard season.
100%. And look, Garrett, this is something that Old Glory DC has struggled with all season. They can never put points on the board first in these games. It always takes them at least 25, 30 minutes to even, put a kick on the board. And so this, you have to wonder, this is definitely positive spirits for the team. They're feeling good, and hopefully they can continue to sustain that throughout the game. And we hope, looks like Carl Meyer is okay after that. That injury right there.
Yeah, just a little look. It's has sort of the wrong side. I don't know what you coach the kids on the training pitch on a Sunday morning. Hopefully he's all right. There'll be no chances taken with any head injury. So Dabulis with his left foot. You see him, it's really effectively the wrong sideline for him. He's got to guide that through the middle. Clean strike, but he just pulled that one. And we identified off the top the keys to victory presented to us by Litos tonight, and doing the basics is a pretty good start, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Old Glory, it's to execute the basics. Look, they've got good patterns and structures that come in bits, but they have to do the simple things right to convert those successes to points, something I think they've done very well in the first 5 minutes. As for NOLA, they have to play the territory game. Last week, they played too many lateral phases in their own half. They have to play in the right areas of the field, use the strong kicking games of Coleman and Meyer to make their day easier and put more pressure on Old Glory.
Take half step. There we go. Good.
So NOLA used the kickoff to push DC back into their own end. Getting a much more disciplined start from DC, just 6 minutes into this, but their pods seem to be tighter, their communication's clear. And they're going to use DeBoulis' left peg. As I mentioned off the top, he came in as a sub, really less than 10 minutes. He was totally ambitious, he was totally focused, he scored a try, and he just seemed to give them a lift, a bit of discipline as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest tactical storylines of this game. Of course, there's, Rohan Sofaway, who's been playing for Old Glory at 10 the first, 6 games of the season, but Mike DeBoulis has been with the club for such a long time. He really understands the patterns and the structures, and so I think for Coach Douglas, this was a really smart tactical change for them.
And the ball's stolen at the front, everything's going DC's way. But the referee says he had too many men in the lineout. They want to have a review upstairs, and you don't review that call. It's a good chance to go down sideline. And Rolly Pratt, what do you see on that? And what's the feeling down there on the sideline? Got to be a bit of buzz in the stadium.
Thanks so much, Gareth. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of buzz here in the stadium, a lot of excitement going on now after that Old Glory try. But I think the first thing that we need to mention here is this crazy weather here today, guys. In the last hour, we've had wind, rain, and even some snow. But it looks like the sun is starting to peek his head out, and the wind has died down just a little bit, making it actually really quite nice for some running rugby right now. We'll see if that continues here. I'll give you back up to you guys for the scrum.
All right, great insight. Keep us up to date. It does look like a fast track, as we said. Stevens digs it out. Now it's Nola's turn. You get out wide, and Depperschmidt does get into some space. He's right up to the 22. Defense at set piece was a little bit of an issue for DC last week. They gave up a bit of ground, but they've contained it there. Lots of options for Coleman. He goes out the back to Meyer. He's still dancing. That's good quick ball. Now there's options. Coleman, vastly experienced. Oh, not able to get his left arm free as he got the half gap there.
No, wait, let it come now.
So DC snuff out that initial incursion. They're going to have to restart, rebuild the momentum. Damien Stevens on
advantage, 9.
They're playing advantage. See the referee's arm out. So we'll come back for a penalty if nothing's gained.
5, high tackle. Just don't slip up around the neck.
And it looks like Stan South has just slid up around the shoulder area, not acceptable in rugby anymore.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Just, the first penalty for Old Glory, and hopefully they'll keep that down, because if there's anything that you can credit NOLA to, it's the successes of their kicking game, both on the field and also for points. We'll see what they decide to do here, NOLA Gold. It looks like they're going to go ahead and try to get, those 5 or 7 points on the board here with a line out. Something I want to note really quick with Old Glory's defense, it looks like they are trying to shoot up. They're playing very compressed. If you look at the left hand of your screen as it comes again later, you'll see that Old Glory's playing very narrow, and they're shooting up really hard, I think, because NOLA's back line is very stacked. They don't want to give them any space to play. They don't want to give them any space to run, so they're really trying to gamble with that there.
Line out.
No, yeah.
A little underthrown, but at the top of them all there. Both of them. And he's free and loose. Just for the moment, though. Still 7 meters out. Quick pick from Dolan. He's stopped. Advantage being played, and shuttling for the line. It looks like it's Dino Waldron at 6'1", 258. He lunges over the line, and NOLA Gold are on the board.
Look, we knew this was going to be a very tight affair between these two teams, and of course, to no surprise, NOLA comes back answering. And again, NOLA is taking advantage so far of the mistakes that Old Glory are making, and Old Glory is making it harder on themselves. Of course, this lineout comes from a penalty initially, and then as we see this drive evolve, you'll see a peel to the right here in just a second. And as that peel gets recycled, as the next phase happens, you see already that the NOLA hooker, took that ball away. But you see in these next few phases, unfortunately, Old Glory is just too frantic here. They commit another penalty, and of course, that just opens up the space for Waldron to go in and take the score.
And Bria, I wonder if they've recognized something on the tape from last week. That's twice they picked and had success right through the middle of the ruck.
Something that Old Glory can do a lot better, especially on their try-line defense, is they need to get lower. I think in this case it was just, lack of recognition here. Cam Dolan's very smart. He sees that little gap that he's going to take. But again, I think, because the NOLA backline is so threatening, Old Glory is so worried about those backs getting the ball, but you have to worry about where the ball is presently.
So Kallmeyer adds the extra 2 points. A relatively easy kick for him. We got a battle on our hands. That one's gone long. Stevens has responded with considerable interest, getting way into the DC territory. And I think that gives us indication of those changing conditions that Roley was referencing. He's used that wind to effect.
Yeah, and it looks like if you look at the AR's flag there, it looks like there's a little bit of wind here. Never ideal for the hooker's throws here. We'll see what Irimescu can make of this. Again, these changing weather conditions that Roley was just talking about. Who knows? This wind will probably die down in a few minutes, but right now it's looking pretty strong.
Obviously affects the line-out throwers as well, and it's actually pushed that one not straight. I thought the first 2 were pretty close, and the wind maybe contributed to that one.
And that's so hard, right? Especially if you're Irimescu and you're noting that wind. You want to throw it a little bit more to the left, just hoping that the wind is going to carry the ball a little bit to the right side. And so, that's the struggle. You've got to constantly adapt in every changing minute there. And, maybe this game, maybe right now, you're looking more to scrums than lineouts.
Yeah, Roley, what was your take on that? Another not straight lineout.
I have to agree 100% with Bree right there. The wind is swirling again right now. Rob Irimescu had basically no chance of connecting with that line out. The wind just took it away immediately. Like Bree said, I think that they're going to have to focus on the scrums here and maybe get away a little bit right now from the line outs while this crazy wind is swirling.
Yeah, and I mean, tactically, again, right, this is why, as we talked about NOLA's key earlier, is they've got to play the territory game, right? And that was a great clearance kick by Damian Stevens to get that territory. And look, they're reaping the benefits. They're, 30, 40 meters up now just because of that kick, putting more pressure on Old Glory.
Big scrum to come here. NOLA looking solid with Karoy off the back, but he doesn't use it. They use Coleman through the hands. It's a little bit of a late drop. Really good tackle midfield from the scrum half and captain to Sitala.
Away, you're not on the ball.
Here our referee communicating to the players, giving them their limits at the tackle area. So important.
Stay there.
Options, so many options in the goal back line. As you said, Bree, they're stacked. They got line breakers all over the place. Hint of offside from DC.
He stepped back. We're going to play.
Referee says he stepped back. We're going to play on. Coleman's going to have to keep that one. I don't know if at 31 he's looking for too many of those contacts, but he did his job there. Of course, Robbie Coleman, the vastly experienced Australian in the 10 jersey. That time his team was penalized for holding on to the ball at the ruck. It may have been Stan South who was on his feet.
Yeah, big guy Stan South there, of course, doing the dirty work after his teammate made a great tackle. Look, Old Glory doesn't want to play defense. Neither team does. But, something that Old Glory had to do against Atlanta last week was play, 30 minutes of defense in the first half. And so this is something that I think they're unusually comfortable with. And so, they can continue to remain patient and composed. And so now it's really a matter of can they convert when they're on attack.
A big Stan South, a product of the Harlequins Academy. 30 premiership games to his name. Doing it on defense there. We know what he can do carrying the ball, as you featured in the head-to-head, but he's also doing it in the loose. He's arriving with the blonde hair in the middle of that line out. He's a lifter here.
Play on, win. That's the win, guys. Play on. Let's go.
Nice refereeing. Just commiserating maybe with the players who are having to deal with the conditions. Sitala looking to come back to the short side where the line out happened. He's got his big forwards waiting. That's Irimescu with Nicky in support. And there goes Stewart. So all the front row boys are touching it, doing their work. Little deep there for Dabulis, and that's what happens when you attack too deep. The contact is way behind your game line. Dabulis using the ground and using the left peg. Not a bad kick, but it may come back with some interest given the conditions we've just noted.
Yeah, and I like that kick that Dabulis just had. You know, there weren't really a lot of options on that left-hand sideline. And something to note, especially in this win, too, it's not just affecting the lineouts, but it's affecting the kicks. And so, you know, what's really nice about the choice that was made by Dabulis is that it was a low grubber, a line-driving kick. You know, didn't quite maybe make as much territory as possible, but instead of kicking it up into the wind, you know, was able to kind of push him back a little bit. And, of course, now they get another, you know, new reset here with the ball.
A good example of the NOLA Gold line speak. And that's often why a number 10 has to kick, because there's no options and you're not going forward.
Advantage, lost forward.
Advantage being played. It's just a knock-on advantage, though. So DC able to get into their rhythms. These are all set pieces off the training pitch. One phase with the flow.
We're going to come back for the lost forward.
Oh, the referee is going to come back for the knock-on, because there must have been an infringement at the ruck by DC.
Like, the wind's pretty strong. As soon as it goes up, it's taking it across, yeah? Lost forward, fellas.
Yeah, and I really like how the ref is doing such a good job of communicating very early on and to both teams, you know, kind of giving them a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt here. Something I want to note about the Old Glory pack, you know, you mentioned earlier that Kyle Stewart was a late add, and, you know, Kyle actually usually plays tight head, but because of Jack Iscaro's injury, who, you know, different Jack, you know, he doesn't typically play at loose, but because Jack Carroll is now out, he's having to kind of step up and do that again, and, you know, so far it looks pretty good from him, so job well done.
That's Jake Ilnicki, the Canadian international, on this side of the scrum. You see him in the tight head role. To Stala, quick ball, using Doug Fraser off the wing. They attacked it, they've used quite a bit, and he's got his job done going over the gain line. Nice footwork there, still going. Talataina doing exactly what's asked him. They push it over the top. Well, there's cover there. We're going to come back for an offside of the previous breakdown.
Yeah, and maybe why Tusitala decided to kick there, because it looked like Meyer, you know, had that ground covered, but knowing that he had the free play here, seeing if he could do anything with his two guys he had on the right side. And again, just as we see here, a nice, good platform for Tusitala. As you mentioned, look, Doug Fraser is a little bowling ball, and they've continued to use him off of the first play strike. And, you know, good job by Willie Talatena in that play to really gain some meters. You know, Renato Roberts-Tanana, who's playing at fullback, he doesn't typically get, you know, that's not his typical position. And so you see him supporting Talatena in that aspect, trying to really break free. But I think if you can get more breaks from your inside centers there, then you can actually open up Roberts-Tanana to get him to play in more open space that he's usually so used to doing, playing on the wing.
So Talataina laid out a mark here. The lineup's an absolute mess for Glory.
Backwards!
O'Toole's brought down.
Outside.
And they're going to push it through the hands. They always know they have an option to kick here. It doesn't come off. But again, Glory probably guilty of not putting the pressure on. A tentative-looking NOLA attack. And Coleman now can push it deep. Again, those players have an option to kick. It's not on. Oh, good hit. But he doesn't hang on. From Lasanga. Very positive play from NOLA. That one doesn't go to hand. Meyer circling around, keeps it alive. That looks like it's a high shot.
Happy with that, Craig, or not?
Referee just asking for some support there.
Is that a high tackle?
Coleman's gone to the left boot. Push it into space, and we're going to come back for the high tackle.
I understand he was falling, but it's high.
Yeah, and you hear the ref just checking with his AR there. It looked like Stan South as he was trying to make that tackle. The NOLA player just kind of sliding down as he's falling down. Right, so you'll see here, you know, Carl Meyer making an excellent break. And of course, you know, Capiello, just as he's falling, you know, it's much harder to make a legal tackle on that front. And so NOLA gets an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Water break, fellas.
We got some physical issues there. 5'10" against 6'6". But that'll do it here for the first quarter in DC. It's been tons of action, tons of breaks both ways. And NOLA are up just by one conversion, 7 points to 5. So join us back after the break.
All right, guys, we are back. I'm on the field here with the captains of Penn State and Navy, joined by the owners of Iron Vine. Come on in here, Dalton. Show us that beautiful shield that you got here. Dalton Musselman was man of the match and captain of Penn State. Congratulations. Do you have anything you wanna say to us?
No, it's just a great performance by the boys. Really came out, showed up. We've been working hard since January. We had to put our name back on the map, so I think we came out. They were a great side. Full credit to them. And we just played to our structure and went great.
Thanks very much. For yourself there, that's got the captain of Navy, Colin Brennan. Colin, how'd you do? How was your game today?
I mean, it's a tough outcome, but obviously we're very grateful for the opportunity to come out here and put American rugby on the map. And cheers to Penn State for letting us have a good go.
Well, you guys played a hell of a game. I'm here with the guys from Iron Vines who sponsored this as well. You guys must be really happy with the level of play over the last couple of weekends.
Oh, yeah, we've been thrilled. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted when Old Glory approached us and said we wanted to do this series, and we said this is where we want to be, sponsoring youth rugby and just collegiate level. Between Penn State and Navy, this is incredible. I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better matchup and a better game. And so we're super happy to sponsor this. And we look forward. It's a series of 3 games, and so we look forward to the next one, and which is 3 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Back to you, Garrett.
Great stuff. Well, thank you, Iron Vine, for helping out all our student athletes, and well done. Great to see that. That is one of the big pluses of Major League Rugby, helping grow the game. Navy and Penn State. And of course, with all that's going on in the world, special thank you to those young men serving the country as well. Great to see, Avery. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely, and Old Glory has done a great job of showcasing local collegiate and high school teams as part of their curtain raisers all season, and so it's great to see it continue to build. And of course, if you look at the Old Glory roster, a lot of these guys are local products, something that they can be.
Good, as we're keeping an eye on the big game. NOLA pounding at the line. There's an advantage for a high tackle on Coleman, and we're going to have a little chat here, I think. I think Coleman took a big arm to the chin, but we'll see.
So I know all 3 high tackles have been falling, but it's starting to become now a common penalty. Have a chat to your boys. Yeah, time's off, so just have a chat.
Well, great stuff, and I like that. There are 3 high tackles. There will be an argument, Bree, and you can explain to our viewers that a repeated infringement, the same infringement, could be a sin bin, but he's saying he doesn't feel they're related, so good communication.
Absolutely, and I think what's happening to Old Glory, DC, the reason why they keep doing these high tackles on guys that are falling is because they're not actually making the initial hit on the ball carrier. So, you've got very strong runners on NOLA Gold, and so when you have 2 or 3 guys trying to make a hit, but they don't succeed, by the time the 3rd or 4th guy comes in to finish the tackle, the NOLA Gold guy is already falling, which is something that is not playing into Old Glory's favor.
Well, as England supporters know, it doesn't matter, but he is trying to keep the game flowing and doesn't want to remove anyone from the field if he doesn't have to. But a huge opportunity for NOLA here, looking for their 2nd try. They go to the front. Ignacio Dati gets his hands on it. They look to come out of it, but they go down. Again, content to work the short side, but way too short as the feet go into touch, and that's a turnover, break. Costly.
Yeah, you see Cam Dolan trying to come around and sneak to the short side.
He didn't touch it.
If you go ahead and look at the replay, you actually see Danny Tusitala sneaking over to the other side because he wants to cover that. Good turnover on his part.
Oh, and there's Dolan's big left mitt. I don't think it was in our contract that if you want to be featured in the head-to-head, you have to get a dye job, because both of the big boys.
That's what you should have said. Battle of the Bleach Blondes, huh? Yeah.
So they'll go again in the line out. That one was tapped by Dolan. DC backed up to their own line, just trying to clear the lines here. 10 meters out, they need to execute. They fake, and then they get it. Pushed away by Nicotini, our try scorer. And an interesting tactic, as I said, I don't think Tusitala kicked particularly well. They're using Mike DeBoulas and his left foot, and it seems to be more effective.
Yeah, and something that Tusitala typically does on his box kick, he doesn't like to have set up a lot of protectors when he's box kicking, which has led to a lot more pressure on his part. So it makes total sense that you want to relieve more pressure on their side and let the 10 take care of it with more extra space.
Yeah, Mike DeBulis, who you saw there from Westfield, New Jersey, got his first cap against Canada in the World Cup qualifiers. Of course, October coming up, hugely important for American rugby, the 2-game series with Chile. So many of these players will benefit from this MLR experience, this high-intensity rugby. That one's loose. Mistakes, but not the first time. Coleman's out the door, out the back pass, haven't gone to hand. Really good counter.
Turnover is good. Play on.
From DC, and the turnover is good. This has got to be the most positive passage to play for Old Glory pretty much all season. Turning defense into attack. Tusitala's got the bug. And there goes Stan South. Little tentative in that attack. Now they're going with the flow. Through Taina. DeBulis, he's a dangerous runner with the ball. Catch and pass. Crowder on their feet. Lasanga's brought down. He's really good. DC putting the phases together. That pass doesn't go forward. No, says the referee. Stewart keeping it alive. Relentless attack. The Bullets has got a hint of the gap, but it closes up. NOLA up to it for the moment. Ilnicki goes down early. Nicotini. Really flat. Good positioning, though, from Junior Sao. That is his job for this team, is the hard yards ball carrier. Through the half a tackle. They've done it. Steps inside. Penny Lasanga.
Time off.
We're going to have time off, but I think he scored. I'm not sure if there's something in the build-up, but in the end, it looked pretty good. A couple of passes. In fact, the arm is up. The referee's giving it. Penny Lasanga, the man from Tauranga, New Zealand, makes DC very happy.
And Garrett, rightfully so, that try is given to Penny Lasanga because he's the one that started it all. Look at him chasing it down. He makes the tackle, he gets up, and they're able to turn over that ball just past midfield. And then credit to the whole Old Glory team for being able to string together phases in the face of that very strong wind that you could even hear on the mic. And of course, Ren's doing what he does best, just biting or bringing in defenders. And of course, Penny for kind of the easy finish right there, but he deserves those points.
Ren's Robert Tanana there doing his job and his teammates benefiting. That'll give Talataina
and again
the extras.
You go back to the Old Glory key that we were talking about at the beginning of the match. They have to execute the basics, and you know they were able to string together many phases in that attack, and you know something that they haven't been able to do all season is actually convert that attack to points, and they finally feel a little bit more comfortable. They look more confident in just protecting the ball and knowing where their teammates are, and so that's, you know, credit, well job to them, or good job to them.
Well, that is an incredibly tough kick. He's used the wind as a bit of a backstop and just dropped it over the crossbar. And I wonder if later on in the day, if that extra 2 points won't be a factor. 12 points to 7. Glory over NOLA. So positive, just great hands.
And just look, you know, Robert Sonata knew exactly where Lasanga was in that. And of course, Don Bailey, again, he deserves this start here, just the spark that we need, or sorry, that he needs, and just really being able to pull out another defender and give Penny the easy finish.
That ball's bobbled off the kickoff by Luke Campbell. Yeah, really important, I think, that DC responded there after the water break. 28 minutes into this one. And I say this is probably the best rugby they played all season.
Absolutely, but something you cannot do after you score those points is immediately turn that kickoff receipt into just a ball on a silver platter for NOLA Gold, which is unfortunately what happened there. Understand the wind is probably playing a bit of a factor, but look, you've given NOLA Gold great territory and a good opportunity to play off.
And look at those options from our wide shot. They had players both sides they can go to. I'm wondering if, for the first time, Karoy might have a bit of a sniff here. No, he's going to let it go to his scrum half. And they're happy to work the short side. Backwards, said the referee. Dancing around is Harley Wheeler. He's dangerous, but he really hasn't had any ball today. Now it's NOLA who are a little bit deep in their attack. Good line speed up the middle, but they break it. Dancing through. It's Capiello. DC a little bit wanting in the one-on-one tackles midfield. Coleman gets a handoff. He's still pumping away. Capiello, he had that initial break. Nothing came of it. Perhaps a little slow to support NOLA. But they're still inside the 22 in the red zone. Quick pick through the middle. No reward this time. Awkward position. And I think it was Dom Bailey trying to get a quick tap and go. There's a hit, a tie. Does he get the ball down? Referee's going to have a look upstairs. A couple of things to look at here. So it's Capiello going for the line. I think he may have got there, but there's definitely contact around the head.
Oh, and that was a really smart play by Capiello, knowing that Old Glory is playing on the back foot.
On-field decision is no try. I've got it held up. Can you just say if there was a grounding for me? Otherwise, I'm going to come back for the offside penalty, not 10.
Checking for on-field decision, no try. We're looking at angles now.
Thanks, mate.
I wonder, he hasn't flagged the head contact, and I wonder if through the review they're going to flag it and introduce it into the conversation.
Okay.
That was the voice of our television match official. So let's have a look here. Again, the reward was through the middle. Capiello just went quick tap, and DC's so slow to get organized. There's that head high that
Luke, stick with your on-field decision of no try. The ball has been held up and then taken back.
Thanks, mate. Okay. No try, but we're going to come back for the penalty.
So this is an issue for me. This swinging arm is allowed to be noticed at this point. And that's 100% contact on the head. I think that should be a different outcome.
There was
we're going to go back.
We're back 10. He wasn't. It's not a penalty try for me. It's a penalty only for me.
And you wonder, this is why Cam Dillon is going up and talking to him, trying to plead that, because I think you're absolutely right, Gareth, especially after Old Glory's already done that 3-4 times in the game. And unfortunately, NOLA just doesn't quite get the luck here.
I'll try. It's very windy, yeah.
So lots of action, lots of interpretation. Still NOLA in a great position. They're not going to take the 3 points. Obviously, it was a penalty, so they could have had the easy chip shot in front. They're going to take the scrum, try and keep the pressure on.
Again, this is another scrum middle, right? This is what happened in the last scrum. And with NOLA's stacked back line, it makes it so much harder for Old Glory to defend because you don't know which side that they're going to attack from.
Oh, big mitt in there, but let it go. That one's knocked on. Is it in the tackle or is it possibly a sin bin? But still attacking here, NOLA.
Step back for me.
That's material, so I think we may come back to a sin bin there. This is good phase of play from NOLA now. Their forwards doing lots of work off the ball, offering up. O'Toole rides the tackle. It's a little bit slower, but it's very methodical from NOLA. Kuroi's on it. Now Coleman looks, he's got options wide, he floats it. A little too much time in the air so the defense could get there. But really good leg drive from the NOLA midfield. We're going to come back to that original penalty.
Time off.
We're going to have a time off, and I wonder if it's repeated fringe.
At the scrum.
Infringement,
it's completely unbound. But what the issue now we have down here is that's a number of penalties we're giving away. Have a chat because you're leaving me little options to put someone in the bin. Okay?
So just as an old pro, can I talk to him? Means can we all have a breather here and I take an extra minute?
Absolutely, and Danny's not someone. Danny's not someone that likes to really, be diplomatic with the ref here. He usually likes to, say what's on his mind. And obviously, he can't do that in this new captain role. But yeah, interesting issue that happened in the scrum there that you pointed out. That hand in the scrum didn't seem to be material. It seemed to be overlooked by the ref here. And again, Old Glory is just really trying to fly up on defense and cut off the wide channels. And unfortunately, when you do that, you risk being offsides multiple times, and that's where the ref is warning Danny here to cut down the penalties.
And how about the statement by Nolan? Yet another 3 points. They're going to say, no, we're not taking it. We think we're better than you, DC. We're coming at you with a scrum.
Yeah, I think that they've ridden a little bit of, or actually a lot of momentum in the last few minutes. Because Old Glory is playing so high, you have to trust that they're going to make all of the tackles on the inside. But Juan Capiello has been breaking tackle after tackle and making gain line. So I think that's where they feel confident here.
Use it!
It goes down up front, but they're going to play on. That's a better tackle from the DC midfield. Hands on it is Duplessis. Forwards line up again.
Step back.
Against Tanguia.
Well done, 5.
Credit for the moment, this Old Glory defense. Tusitala thinks he's got his hands on it, but he hasn't. A little bit of confusion. Ignacio Dadi, 6'4", 235. He's trying to roll into the next phase.
5, let it come, 5.
Referee telling the DC defenders to let it go, get their hands off it. Coleman this way goes a bit more conventional. You saw Meyer just looking to try and keep that ball alive rather than get into these static phases. DC must be hitting the fatigue button here because it's a lot of tackling phases time and time again. The diminutive Robbie Coleman, the Australian, spins out of a couple of tackles. Just 2 meters to go now. They're lining up are the big NOLA gold players. They picked again, straight through the middle. And it was just too much for Old Glory DC. And NOLA are rewarded through the post, through the big number 8.
And look, just as you said, Gareth, it was really just a matter of time before Old Glory started to falter on their defense. There's only so many phases you can play without getting fatigued. And here, they're able to make another break. Danny Tusitala goes to the post. But when you have 8-man versus 9, you know who's going to win that battle, especially that close to the line. Something that's very difficult on defense to do is if the attacking team is getting a lot of quick ball, it is so hard to get back into position in time and try and make positive tackles. And that's where Old Glory really struggled there. And credit to NOLA really working hard in each of those breakdowns to give Stevens very clean, very quick ball. And that's where they were able to carry off. And actually, I think that was Monty Tanguia with the try.
Say, it was Monty Tanguia. Great score for him. And because he scored between the posts, that's one of the new law interpretations. So the full 7 points is awarded. You don't need to take that extra 2. So the lead goes to NOLA. 14 points to 12. Both sides giving their all. Great to see it. It's a really good Major League Rugby matchup. Thanks for joining us if you're on the Rugby Network. Gareth Reese here with Bree Kim, and we're really enjoying this one. And sideline, we got Rolly Pratt, who I don't know which way he's going. The Glory fans are silenced for the moment. They've been right in this one.
You have to wonder how many outfits Rolly Pratt has down on the sideline, whether he's wearing his rain jacket, his winter coat, or has stripped all layers on the sideline there. It's looking pretty calm at this point, but still a little bit of wind there, and Old Glory does a good job of retaining that ball.
Old Glory just goes to the 2. Not the best attacking ball, but it does secure possession. Now they're going to use the left foot of Dabulis. It's a well-weighted kick, actually. He's flirting with that sideline, and that pass goes over the top. I don't think Meyer's going to panic too much because he's got that skill in his arsenal. It's so nice when you're a fullback when you know you got at least 50 meters in your boot.
Yeah, and you know, here Old Glory is right back where they started. You know, I'd like to see, you know, there's a good kick by Dabulis, but I'd like to see if he can get that 50-22.
There's the man from Peter Maritzburg, South Africa. Fantastic player. Actually got out of South Africa going to a small town in Wales called Ebbw Vale in 2013. That was his first pro rugby, or semi-pro rugby, I guess, and then spent some time with Newport Gwent Dragons. So the man's been around a bit, and he's a big contributor here to the New Orleans Cause.
It's inside the 5, play on.
Canadian coach Kingsley Jones is very proud of the Ebbw Vale mention there.
That's good. We're now good. We're good now.
And DC are often pushing.
Still moving.
In that pack, 2 of
That's once.
Kingsley Jones' men, Riley and Nicky and Luke Campbell. Again, Tusitala perhaps guilty of a poorly executed skill. This gives the ball right back to this side that have been having some fun. Good battle on the ground. That shows the hunger of those two teams whose seasons are really in the balance we set off the top, and they're playing like it right now, aren't they, Bree?
Absolutely, and unfortunately, Api Nakatini thought he was able to steal the ball away there. Not quite. Looks like the ref said the ruck had already formed. And look, I just want to go back to, the sideline lineouts, or the lineouts on the far side that we were just seeing. With this new 50-22 rule, you want to really gamble, right? If you're in your own half and you have the boots to be able to send it down the line, you want to try and get the line out down there.
Yeah, just explain to some of our fans new to rugby, the 50-22. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What are you allowed to do?
Absolutely. So if you kick behind your midway line in your own 50, and the ball goes past the 22 and out onto the sideline, then instead of it being a line out to the other team, you actually get to reap the benefits and you get the line out down there.
So it's a new interpretation, trying to get the wingers to cover a little bit more ground, so maybe there's a bit more space to run into when you're in the attack. That one's bobbled. And again, credit DC for just enough line speed and defensive pressure to cause that bobble.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Robbie Coleman's not too pleased there with himself for not executing on that. Unfortunately, especially with the wind, it's the ball going to hands is a lot easier said than done. And hopefully they can shake that off. But for now, Old Glory gets another good attacking platform right here in the scrum.
Yeah, that NOLA side, one of the great teams of the early Major League Rugby history, is only 2-4 this season. They've only got 11 points to their name, and they're 5th in the East, so they have a lot of ground to make up. And a game like this they would have targeted early on, not only the rivalry that you spoke about off the top, but a game that they would see as an opportunity to get full points. Of course, bonus points on offer in Major League Rugby. Satala comes around now, and it's DC back on the attack. It really has been a back and forth battle. Great for both sets of fans. Hope you're enjoying it on Rugby Network. Dying moments of the first half. Old Glory have got 2 tries to their name, but they're down by 2 points. And it looks like that half is going to end with that knock on. That'll do it. So scintillating stuff here. Like 2 boxers going at it toe to toe. We're going to have the actual scrum. I'm not quite sure why, as you see those red numbers show that we're past the 40-minute mark.
Much to NOLA's chagrin here, looking to see if they can get one more play, one more opportunity to perhaps put some points on the board. Of course, they've got a long way to go. But when you have a back line like NOLA Gold, you've got to trust this process and see where you can go.
So you're the coach. Do you run it? Do you go for the jugular? Do you go for that extra try, or you just clear it off the field?
No, I think if you're NOLA Gold, you give it a shot. I think, they're sound on defense to know that Old Glory probably won't convert. If it was a turnover ball, immediately convert that to points. When you have Capiello striking as well he does, and Damien Stevens just proved me wrong here. Maybe they're not happy with how the last few minutes have gone with their team and they want to reset. But good thing I'm not the coach and I'm just here in the broadcast booth.
Well, there you go. As the players sprint off the field, massive contribution from them. A really good Major League Rugby fixture we've got here. Both sides knowing they want to win. Old Glory playing their best rugby this season. They got 2 tries, but it's not enough right now as NOLA Gold are up 14 points to 12 here in Washington, D.C. Welcome back to DC. Tons of great action here, but let's take it back to the studio for On the Mark.
Welcome to On the Mark with Mark Stabina. So far, we've looked at some different elements of the offense, such as the counter-attack and using kicking as an attacking option. This week, we're going to focus on another potentially devastating attacking weapon, the offload. What's the difference between a pass and an offload, you might ask? Well, an offload is a pass that takes place as the player is being tackled or immediately as they hit the ground. The offload ensures that the tackler is taken out of the equation and is no longer able to defend. It can also help the attacking team get beyond the defensive line, creating an attacking flow in a completely disrupted defense. And they must retreat before finding any shape, just like you see here in this amazing New York try, scored after a couple of brilliant offloads. In fact, we're going to break it down and have a closer look. So we have a set piece, which means the NOLA defense is quite solid from the outset. And here's the advantage line that New York are trying to get beyond. Ed Fido does an amazing job of bouncing off one defender and getting to the gain line, but that offload was the killer punch and allowed another offload with some brilliant support and strong running. Not only did they get beyond the gain line, but they gained 30 meters just with 2 offloads. Now, NOLA managed to get themselves in a decent defensive shape after retreating to try and stop this New York attacking team. But what kills that defense? Another offload, which leads to the try by Andrew Coe. Brilliantly worked by New York and shows how strong the offload can be. So there you have it. Offloads are a great way to disrupt the defensive line, raise the tempo of the offense, and even score a lot of tries. Don't forget to join me and Stacey Pates for All Access every Tuesday on FS2 or on demand at therugbynetwork.com.
We're going to have a little look around the league, see what's happening. Right now, it's NOLA up 14 points to 12 over Glory. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. It's Major League Rugby here in the nation's capital. Lots to cheer for those young and old here. Let's take a little look around the league at the Paladin standings. Pretty much halfway of the season, and lots going on. The East is really heated up. Rugby Atlanta are currently playing right now as well, and NOLA involved in this one, down in 5th, and they want to change that here.
Yeah, absolutely. Old Glory trying to get those points on the board. NOLA chasing Toronto at the moment. The Rugby ATL New England game that's happening right now is probably the talk of the weekend.
And on the other side in the West, it's Austin. You know, it started so well, fumbled a little bit. Seattle making a bit of a move, and LA surprisingly are champions down there at 3-3. We'll see how that plays out. But let's take a look around the league. Brought to you by American Airlines, and that is the game that's going on. Rugby ATL up just by a try over the Free Jacks, who have also been in great form.
Yes, absolutely. You knew this was going to be a tough match down in Atlanta, and Rugby ATL, of course, taking full form, but there's still a full 40 minutes to play. And then, of course, tonight on FS1, Utah versus Houston over in the Western Conference. Utah right now at the bottom of the table, and Houston, you know, just 2 points above them. We'll see who can get the glory in prime time.
Yeah, 2 games tonight, and that big game tomorrow. Toronto Arrows preparing to host Rugby New York. So tons of world-class professional rugby here in North America. Join us after the break for the second half as the kids take the center stage. The big boys will be back soon. Join us after the break. Today's presentation of Major League Rugby is brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. Buy, trade, or sell your next vehicle today at sheehy.com. Loudon Economic Development, dedicated to recruiting new business, growing our existing industries, and improving Loudon County's business climate. And Cuisine Solutions, the world's leading manufacturer and distributor of sous vide foods. And by Leidos. Leidos embraces and solves some of the world's toughest challenges. Welcome back. These players are giving us a ton to cheer about. 2 tries apiece. And Bree, I mean, I've been so impressed so far. We knew that right out of the gate, DC needed something, and they gave it to us right off the start.
Yeah, absolutely. We knew this was going to be a bruising battle, back and forth, huge rivalry, and of course, points at stake here. And it starts out with this Old Glory try, of course, well worked. Old Glory likes to play an expansive game, and then they were able to bring back in the middle for the Nakatini try.
That was followed up by Waldron, an immediate response from NOLA Gold. They're an experienced side. Really good power drive from them. And then Lasonga responded for Old Glory.
Of course, Penny Lasonga started off this movement down into their attacking half. And of course, Don Bailey able to get the hands off, and Penny Lasonga reaps the benefits of his efforts.
Just when it looked that DC might get clear, there was a pounding effort at the line. Tunguai gets his hands on this right through the pick and drive. So he gets the 7-pointer right under the poles. But then another incident that we had a little look at, as you see there, as Capiello is carrying to the line, there's contact. He doesn't score the try, but is there something else we should be looking at?
Yes, and the ref brought it back to TMO specifically to see if there was grounding on the try. But as you saw here, Tusitala's arm went on the head of went on the head here. And so you wonder, should that have happened? Should Capiello have gotten the penalty try?
Yeah, so fairly even affair here, but I just wonder that big tackles number, Old Glory having to put in 108 tackles. Wonderful to see the impact of that in the last 20 minutes of this game.
Again, Old Glory, nothing new for them. This happened last week against Rugby ATL. Let's see if they can make more of their possession. And NOLA has so much possession right now, but they aren't doing as much with it. I'd like to see them be more efficient on attack.
Tons of passion from both teams. Really impressed. Major League Rugby is happening here. Kicking off in the white jerseys from left to right on your screen is NOLA, the New Orleans Gold. And Old Glory DC are going to try and clear their lines here in the blue jerseys. They will have a little bit of wind at your back. Maybe a chance to chat to Rolly Pratt on the sideline. Just check in to see what's happening with those weather conditions in a bit, because that kick is long and high. And DC, it's probably going to be that best halftime they've had for some time. Old Glory, just to be able to chat about all the positive that were in that first half.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear, Rolly, I think, got a chance to talk to both coaches at halftime. Interested to hear what the messages were to the teams at the sheds.
So, missed tackle, if there was one thing they definitely would have addressed, was some of the men in blue just falling off tackles, not completing them. It looked like Stan South was right over that, looking to steal it.
You're okay,
no.
He's got to roll quicker.
But he's saying South was okay, but the man who made the tackle has to get out of the way much more quickly. Well, let's take it down to Rolly. Rolly, what was the word?
Well, guys, the wind is still swirling down here, which you can see from that first foray into the second half there. But I did get a chance to talk with both head coaches. Coach Douglas was quite pleased with the performance in the first half. He said the accuracy will be the main thing come the second half. He was very pleased with the defensive effort on the line, especially. With Kane Thompson, coach of NOLA Gold, again, he said accuracy is going to be the key for them. They've just need to minimize any of the mistakes and get around that corner a little bit quicker on defense. And then finally he said on offense, he likes what he's seeing. He just needs to, again, they just need to cut down the errors, and when they see that opportunity, they just got to go take it.
All great insight there. Thanks, Rolly. Kane Thompson, of course, the NOLA coach, was playing with this side for the last 3 years in a player-coach role, was handed the reins not too long before the season started. Sort of a quick learning for him in his first coaching job, but good insight from him there.
Playing your advantage, 9.
So the referee's playing advantage, letting Damien Stevens know that. Atsu Kurai. Just hint of an elbow there from Devin Short as he drives up hard. Quick pick where they had a lot of luck. They may have identified that again. Cam Nolan goes through the middle.
Advantage.
Shooter is the call. Oh, again, ineffective tackles, high stepping from Pat O'Toole. And that is the lack of accuracy the coach was talking about. Great response and a classy time to do it for NOLA Gold.
Absolutely. NOLA just really embracing their physicality here, and of course taking advantage of the fatigue that Old Glory has suffered from the first half and playing so much defense. We take a look here, and it's just, right through the hands, given to Pat O'Toole. Pat O'Toole versus Penny Lasonga. You can see that huge size difference, and unfortunately, Lasonga too high, just unable to make a productive tackle. And that's something that look, NOLA's going to continue to do the rest of this second half, and Old Glory needs to understand how to play less defense. I think something actually that is a problem is someone we haven't seen on the Old Glory side for a while is Jamison Fontanana-Schultz, the typical 8-man. And the reason I bring him up is because Jamma contests so much in the breakdown. He leads the league in breakdown steals. Now Old Glory is finding it really hard to contest at the breakdown, so they have to set a wall and keep launching and making more tackles as a result, which just results in that fatigue.
Well, really of concern here if you're on the DC side. There's lots of bodies there, but they're just not putting their bodies on the line and doing the job, and that was pretty poor tackle technique. The result, a 5-pointer as the conversion drifts wide. NOLA up 19 points to 12.
Yeah, again, if Old Glory wants to be able to win well, they did a good job winning that ball right here, so let's see what they can do on attack here.
Quick tip there to Nangali. Dabulis goes over the top and goes to ground. Fraser won't be too happy with that, but as he's done several times, just does his part, stays on the field. Tusitala comes, is trying to spark something. I wonder if he's going to have a little look in a bit. He's been fairly quiet. And there's Roberts Tanana. He had a nice little touch for one of the tries. They need him to get it more involved.
Roll!
Yeah, Tusitala having a look right to the middle. That one spilled by O'Nicky. They're looking to counter our NOLA. They know it's a free one because they got the advantage. And advantage is over because they've gone right through and got in behind the blue wall. Well, they got a taste for this right now. They're high stepping. This is dangerous moment for Old Glory. Well executed passing. Oh, I've jinxed it. The catching, maybe not so.
Cam Dolan's not going to be happy with you on that one. Just unfortunate there. They looked very dangerous on attack, looked very potent just in their carries alone in that midfield. And unfortunately, I think both of these teams are kind of playing very similarly. You see here first the knock by DC, just unfortunate by Jake Ilnicki, and NOLA responds immediately with some potent attack, playing more of an expansive game than they have all game, and unfortunately, Harley Wheeler's just not ready for that ball.
Yeah, they look to counterattack really quickly there. And keep in mind, all these teams have analysts in the stadium. They're seeing the same feed that you're getting at home. And they're looking at tendencies. And I think one of the things that may have gone on is that turnover ball like that, it looks like DC's not particularly organized. So input always going into these players. They're not just big men running around smashing each other. There's quite a plan behind this. The match analysts.
Use it!
Static scrum. Tusitala gives him a tap. He wants it out wide. Again, Fraser comes in behind. Dabulis, who's looked really positive. He's the one creating those opportunities. Just the jersey grab is enough. Tusitala gets it. Can he spin around and get under the post? We're going to have a look at the pass, but Danny Tusitala potentially has a big moment for Old Glory, DC.
I know, we're coming up to you, mate.
There you go. You see our referee making the big square. That's the TV.
On-field decision is try. I just want to see if you've got a clear picture of the last pass. I'm happy. But if it's clearly forward, we're going to go back.
So on-field decision is a try.
Yeah.
Checking angles now for a clear and obvious forward pass.
So they're looking to see here if that pass to Tusitala went forward or not. Of course, that started out with Willie Talatena making the excellent break. Offload to Renz. Robert Sonana, someone we haven't seen get much open space in quite some time. Now, is this pass here, this offload, is this a forward pass?
It's when it comes out of the hand. It's definitely gone forward at the end, but I do think it's probably going to be deemed. I don't know. What's your thought?
The ruling is an on-field try, right? And so I agree with you. I think maybe it has gone forward in the end, but I think at that time here, I think it's going to be very hard to reverse this call and say that it was a forward pass, but we will see.
Going the other way. I think they're going to. Just looks bad on camera from that angle. So, of course, that's what Nick Hannon's looking at. And he'll be feeding down to our match official.
Yeah, Gareth, I wish we had gotten the other camera angle here.
I have a clear and obvious forward pass. The ball has been travelled forward from his hands. Yeah. So I need you to reverse your decision and go back for a scrum.
Okay, perfect. Have you got the mark for me, mate?
Yes, I do. You need to go back. It's about 5 metres outside the soccer in-goal zone.
Perfect. No try, forward pass.
Great support. We're working as a team. The referees, Luke Rogan, getting clear and concise feedback from Nick Hannon, and it's sometimes nice to hear there's no doubt in his mind.
Absolutely, and again, just really kudos to the partnership on the referee team there. It looks like as the ball left the left hand of Robert Sonata, it actually went forward a little bit. Tutatala definitely on sides, but the ball went forward just a little bit, so kudos to the ref team for making the right call.
I've got to say, and I was just starting to point to it right before that break, but the input of Diboulas at fly half, not only can he kick the ball, he's demanding the ball, he's pushing it quickly through the hands, and he's making his centers look good. Talataina looking good. Sal looking so much better than he did last week. And that's where these opportunities are coming from.
And the addition of Diboulas not only injects energy right at the 10, but Talataina at 13 actually has more independence and I think more confidence to be the playmaker on the other side, which I think is how he got that initial break.
You know, Oak Glory are a team that likes to go forward. Coleman's just going to settle things down here. So we're going to have a little look at the scrum, because Diboulas pushes it out wide. Look here as they pack down.
And take a look at the positioning of Junior Sao too at 12. He's playing he's playing flat. Actually, almost looks just ahead of Diboulas here.
So they're asking a lot of questions. All those runners are forcing the NOLA defenders to say that. Because Diboulas moves as quickly, then the runner has options. And that's the difference, you know, when you play in that position. Talataini wants the ball early.
And NOLA hesitates there because, as we saw earlier, Doug Frazier inserts from the weak side on the wing, something they have already seen happen. So they have to hesitate and respect the possible insert of that happening, but instead they go wide. So that's a nice little wrinkle from Old Glory.
Momentarily stolen, but Nangali gets it back. You can sense DC are being a little bit spurred on by their crowd here. They're still down by a score. Rolly, you sense things are changing a little bit on the field?
Guys, Rob Aramescu is after going out, and in comes Uruguayan international Facundo Gatas to make his MLR debut and immediately enter the action. First with a throw, and then he took the ball into a ruck in his very first game here for Old Glory. Back up to you guys.
Great insight, and the fresh legs coming on, maybe trying to stop this incursion from DC. That is Facundo Gatas, the man from Punta del Este. 37 Uruguayan caps to his name. Of course, they are heading to the World Cup, our South American friends. Gatas is 5'11", 255. So you mentioned bowling ball earlier. I think he's taking a shot at that as well. Right now it's Oak Glory. Sustained possession for them. And credit Danny Tutatala. He's really worked hard here. Being very positive with his team. Frazier so low to the ground. That one's knocked forward, and this could be a sin bin. Devin Short knocks it forward in the tackle. They missed one early on in the first half. It's a play on for the moment. Campbell, it's up. Diboulas again. We're going to come back because it's knocked on. I wonder if he might have a chat with his assistants here.
Yeah, that was a pretty blatant one-hander there. And, you know, I think maybe Diboulas kind of forced that on purpose, knowing that, you know, the NOLA defender was up in his face. You know, a little cheeky from the 10 there.
And there is Gatas, the debutant here, his first action in MLR. That was debut in 2016 against Canada up in Langford. Played a couple of games in the Rugby World Cup. That is the quality of player we've got in Major League Rugby. But watch this. It's illegal to knock the ball forward with your hand. That was the ultimate knock-on. And they're quite strict on that now. If you go in, even if you're in the act of a tackle sometimes.
Let's go, boys, and then time will come back on. Once you get set.
So 50 minutes played here, 19 points.
Once you get set, time will come up. So get set.
3 tries to 2. They scored coming straight out in the second half.
That's
the difference.
Time back on.
You know, something to point out with the Old Glory front row here. This is huge turnover from last season, losing Stevie Longwell, Jamie Dever, Mikey Sosini-Fiagai, who's over in France playing. And so this signing of Facundo Gatas cannot be underestimated, because while Iramescu and Mo Cass have been playing well for DC, it's so important for them to really build that depth and have someone, you know, with the experience of Gatas to be able to really get their pack going.
Campbell has to dig it out. They go wide. Roberts Tanana again winning the battle for the moment. Nungali, he's really got into this in the last 10 minutes, getting his hands on the ball a bit more commonly, and that man's been outstanding with his center partner, the two of them. Sau and Talataina. Again, quick hands, not afraid to take the risk. They got nothing to lose. They're 0-6. They're looking for their first win here. Off the bench.
Stay.
Now we're seeing the subs on the field. It's Corey Daniel, who started last week's game. He's come on for Glory. Yeah, why not? They switch roles. Dabulis. That's a nicely weighted kick. Did they get a bounce? Yes, they do. Still going. 3 meters from the line, it's spilled. Great awareness and really good execution.
Really good execution up until that last play. But look, let's go all the way back from the very beginning to where this started with Junior Sau. He's been pretty quiet all game, but look, he shakes off that first defender. It takes multiple defenders to get him down there. And of course, with the nice little kick by Robert Sonana, recognizing that the NOLA wing is up. Great collection by Penny Lasanga, and unfortunately just lost it in contact. But really, you know, really like how they're playing now. You know, they responded well after the early NOLA try in this half.
Well, we've had lots of tries in this one, 5 to be exact, and we do have the summary coming up, brought to you by Impact Office, and there they are, right from 6 minutes in. Nicotini, responded by Waldron, Depperschmidt, and Nakali, and then Iramescu with that all-important one to start the second half.
Yeah, and actually I think that was Pat O'Toole on the other side there for NOLA Gold. But again, just look, NOLA has proven that their strong forwards are defining this game to let their backs have a little bit more open play. And unfortunately, they just haven't been quite as efficient. But I'd like to see them, you know, again, when I talked to Kane Thompson yesterday, he said he wanted them to play in all the right areas of the field. You can bet they're going to run and try and make a line break here. As you can see, their backs are nicely close and stacked.
Look at the pressure. Old Glory's putting it on, trying to get some return. But NOLA scrum just holds off enough. And that's not a bad exit, just running out, breaking tackles off to midfield. No one to give it to, so he puts the boot to it. Again, really late, the NOLA support. Doug Fraser's there. Not able to get to his feet, and he's going to be penalized for it. A quick tap.
Mark's over there.
Interesting call. He said the mark's over there.
NOLA Gold won't be happy with that, but they'll be happy with how productive that very straightforward, basic starter move was from their scrum. Unfortunately, just a really, really poor missed tackle by Old Glory there. You can't, I mean, it's just a simple ball right out of the scrum, and all NOLA was trying to do was just gain some extra meters. They didn't expect to gain 50 or 60 extra meters on that.
Well, that's a coach killer, and the backs have to hold their hand up. The forwards put real pressure on them at scrum. Then you give up 70 meters and a penalty, and that's, you're not going to be able to compete in this league. It's just too good right now.
Right. And this is really, you know, we talked about how much effort they've put forth. They, being Old Glory, you know, put forth so far. They can't crack here, right? They can't break here. And this is, as NOLA Gold, you're salivating.
Yep.
And you're trying to take advantage of this opportunity.
Player getting his ankles strapped, and to say, I thought the forwards did a good job. Look at that. They're putting pressure on him right back up to their own line. But if your back's going to let this happen, then you're never going to be competitive.
Look, Capielo's a strong runner. We all know that. but you can't let him run this far. I mean, just and really nice job by Campiello to send that kick over to the side, knowing he didn't really have any other options. And of course, Doug Frazier's under so much pressure. There's nothing that he can do. You know, good on JP Eloff to give that pressure and win the penalty for his team.
Time back on. The repairs are made on the fly. End-to-end action literally at the moment, as NOLA are now just 15 meters out. They've spilled the line out, knocked it forward. Advantage to Old Glory DC. Are they going to try and run out from their end, or are they just going to use this wind?
Okay, use it now. Stay there.
Deboulis is in the pocket. His left foot, he goes open. I love this tactic. He saw the fullback was covering the sideline, and they got a bounce last time.
Good. Let's play.
No bounce, but 50 meters of territory. Again, not great tackle technique.
Good job.
From the Glory backs. NOLA Gold in a deep alignment. They've spilled it. There's pressure coming through. Right through comes the fresh legs of Lefebvre.
Yeah, play on.
Still play on. Now Stevens just nudges it deep. Take his time. That one's hanging high. Coleman hits it flat. He's going to have to take the contact, but he's got support. The tip pass. Again, good support from NOLA. They're getting lots of bodies here. This is a sign of their fitness and a test of it. Look for the risky offload, didn't choose it. Again, a missed tackle from Old Glory. This one's really deep out the back. They got 4 or 5 runners lined up. Passing's not good, but there's lots of options. Dolan joins in out wide with the little guys. He gets it back, fends off one with the big right mitt. Relentless. Gold with those classic Aussie 2 lines of attackers. Well, we're into the phases here. The lungs are burning. Coleman spots a half gap. He goes through it, keeps his hands alive. One more pass needed. He doesn't get it. The ball's still alive. Options all around us. Walder's looking for a second. Tonguai out wide. It's a one-on-one battle. It's not even a battle, as Pat O'Toole's footwork gets the job done, and he scores his brace.
And look, just really job well done by, finished off by Pat O'Toole, but the whole NOLA defense, you look at Coleman make this initial break, and of course, Tonguai coming in for the offload there and still hangs on to the ball. What I really like about this series of play from NOLA Gold is just their composure and the ability to string together phases. By the time that Pat O'Toole finally does it down, there's not much of the Old Glory defense that's left that's organized to play, because they've been, basically drugged through the mud, in so many phases. And so this is where NOLA starts to get really comfortable, because they, they feel very, patient and comfortable. They know what they can do, even if the first few phases ahead of them aren't going to necessarily give them a huge line break.
Pat O'Toole, 2 on his back, 2 tries on the board. Both in the second half, and that's the difference.
You got 15 seconds, Daniel.
Tries are coming to frenzy here. That's our 6th of the day. Have a little look at this breakdown. Stevens has to rush. He only has a minute to kick, and the ball fell over, so he doesn't add any more. Still only 12 points of difference. But as we said, lots and lots of scoring here in your nation's capital.
Yeah, and if you look at this try summary here, of course, Pat O'Toole with the brace, as you said, Gareth, regardless of how the outcome comes out, that NOLA has a bonus point from scoring these 4 tries. That's something that's very unique to the sport of rugby for those of you who are newer to this sport, but that is, all the points every little point makes a difference in the table, and that's, that's just the first start for them.
Well, now NOLA not doing the basics as they don't gather the ball and they throw it in field aimlessly. Oh, Glory, DC showing a ton of heart in attack. It's bobbled play on, says the ref. Yanni Tusitala has to take it up, and the big boys will take over now. There's the pick and go around the corner. And another one. Stand south. The crowd doing everything they can.
Playing your advantage, 9. Still playing your advantage, Danny.
Advantage being played, so there's a penalty. Still hammering, just 10 meters out. So we're going to come back for that original penalty, and really good response from Old Glory.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think, you know, those last few phases there, I would have liked to see them try a little bit, you know, try something knowing that they had the free play there. But again, just, you know, being patient, you know, the forwards maybe not having, you know, a lot of gain line on those carries, but just being composed and making NOLA get frantic and commit that penalty.
12 points adrift, no hesitation. They kick for the corner, but look at this from the kickoff. NOLA not able to gather, and look at that pass infield.
And at that point, you know, when you're so tied up, I think he tried to force the ball back in because he was afraid he was going to get tackled outside. But there's got to be more recognition, more spatial awareness there early so that you can get your knees to the ground and set that ruck. And now we have, you know, Gatas coming in again with a really nice attacking platform with Corey up in the air. And you know they're trying this driving maul now.
Stay there, John, you're on the outside now.
And NOLA doing a good job defending here, but looks like Old Glory might be getting a little bit of momentum.
3 meters out, they get shunted back. Can they stay on the field? It's held up, and it's going to be a put in to NOLA. And look at them celebrating that. Wow, great action we've got here, MLR fans. And if you're enjoying this, make sure you sign up for the free service at the Rugby Network, www.therugbynetwork.com.
Water break, fellas.
They're going to have a water break, but so much action. If you missed any of it, all of these games will be available on demand on the Rugby Network, as well as other great highlights and lots of content behind the scenes. Well, the referee deserves a break. Frantic stuff. NOLA 24, Old Glory 12. We'll be back after the break.
I am here with Margie Desipris Thomas, who is this year's winner of the Old Glory With Her Award. Margie, congratulations. Tell us, what is it like to have an award from the greater rugby community in this area?
It's very honoring, and I feel humbled to be recognized for all the work I've done with a big team. So it's about community.
Absolutely. Well, you were with the Mid-Atlantic, your union, you were with the collegiate side of things, and now you're with Rugby Virginia, the Referee Society. Tell us a little bit about all of those things you've been doing.
Still coordinating the D1 East. They're getting ready to go to the Super Atlantic Regional, and serving the referee community and the entire Rugby Virginia and referees, making sure everybody's allocated and covering what we can, just making sure that local rugby gets its due.
Thank you so much, Margie, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Rolly, and congratulations. We are with her, and Women and Girls Day here was a lot of fun. The women's game in North America, pretty healthy. Both teams at the Tokyo Olympics, and both teams heading to the Women's Rugby World Cup down in New Zealand. Exciting times.
Yes, absolutely. And Old Glory DC doing a tremendous job, really leading from the forefront, from the front foot in MLR, promoting women's and girls rugby. This with her award, it's the second year that it's happened. It's presented to an individual who's demonstrated outstanding leadership and made significant contributions to the advancement of girls and women's rugby in the Washington Metropolitan and Capital Rugby Union area. Last year it was awarded to Eagle Nancy Fitz, this time to Margie DeSepris Thomas, who I can't speak enough about how much she's done for the DMV. She played for James River. Now she works with the refs. She works with coordinating, club competitions. I was fortunate enough as my time with Nova Women's Rugby to kind of, reap the benefits from all the work that she's done. And it's people like her that really uplift grassroots rugby in the USA and even on the men's side too. That's how you bring up the play of American rugby.
Oh, well said. And I know you and I had the privilege of working in Memphis for Premier Rugby Sevens. The first time women have been paid to play professional sevens. How long will it be before we got women's Major League Rugby? We see what's happening in Europe and TikTok getting involved and sponsoring, so tons of opportunities coming our way.
Yeah, look, we could talk so long about this. Of course, today the Women's Six Nations kicked off, again, being sponsored by TikTok, as you said. Right now the Women's Eagles are busy at work preparing for the World Cup later this fall in New Zealand, and of course there's a Sevens World Cup coming up. There needs to be more investment in women's rugby, and it's up to, each of us to really demand more of our local geographic unions all the way up to the national governing body.
Don't forget Canada, Miss Cam. We're going to challenge for that same
there you go.
World Cup trophy. But back to the men, Old Glory, been hanging around in this 22. They're showing a lot of energy there. Impact subs have done the job, and that man for me has just transformed the look of Old Glory. Deboulis, he not only can run the show, but he can score tries. Did that in the one game he started earlier this season at 10. Now they go wide. Fraser fakes the inside pass.
You're holding him in.
As he got that pass from Talataini. Trundling run from Gattas. Dumped unceremoniously as Nangali. Relentless pressure. Nola's up to it.
Hands behind. Hands behind.
This is where Old Glory just has to be patient. String together the phases just like NOLA did earlier.
Spinning around, literally inches short of the line. They go wide. They're over the line. Can they get it down? Yes, they do. And just reward for the big man, Junior Sao. We saw him on the last play impose himself, and there's no one harder to stop from 2 meters out than Junior Sao.
Look, when you have a guy like Junior Sao who comes from rugby league, it is daunting, to say the least, to go up against a guy that physical. Of course, forwards doing all the work right here, just really sucking in the NOLA defense to compress them. And then Junior Sao, what line speed he had. Great ball out to him for him to just come shooting across. There's no way you can stop a guy like that from 2 meters out, as you said, Gareth.
Hey, and referees out there, we just saw our women referee get honored. Luke Rogan in fantastic position. He's had a good game today. And this is a crucial kick just to keep the pressure on NOLA.
And you see, we saw Mike Deboulis taking this kick with his left foot earlier in the game. Of course, a tactical change here to have Willie Talatena take this with the right foot. Much easier to take a kick from this side. Of course, the wind not doing him any favors here. We saw the same thing happen with Damian Stevens earlier.
Yeah, and you got to credit him. What a response from a fairly average game for him last week. Will Talataina, the Auckland grammar man. Now he's going to do it with the boot. Can it stay inside? It goes right over the top. The NOLA plans say no, and the referee also says no. Ooh. Well, we talked about Deboulis getting the start in the 10 jersey, but he's been really strong on the ball.
Absolutely. And look, Deboulis' size, most people think that he's an easy guy to defend, but he's so slippery. He just keeps dancing on his feet. And again, he knows the Old Glory structures and patterns so well because he's been a part of this club for so long. He's added so much confidence and energy to this team. You can see it in the body language of every single player on this field.
Well, they'll need more Deboulis. It's 65 minutes played, 7 points the difference. DC at home looking for their first win of the season.
Take him back.
Played enough rugby. They've scored enough tries.
And a really nice high kick from Talatena. Unfortunately, Penilasanga on the bottom end of trying to win that height battle. But it just looked, Old Glory just looked a little bit confused on how they were going to exit there. You saw Danny pick up the ball and wasn't really sure what he's going to do. And Robbie Coleman here just really running away with it, and now NOLA's looking more dangerous on attack.
They got the ball back. Will they use this win? No, they're going to run it out. They're feeling good about themselves. Now Dabulis. Oh, that's good awareness. This ball's in open field. Coleman's on his own. He spills it. The ball's alive. Fraser's got his hands on it. It's advantage being played. Well, it's all Old Glory, DC, and the fans will tell you that, but of concern, Dabulis is hobbling out of that breakdown.
Yeah, he seems like he's going to be able to shake it off, but look, we just talked about the energy that he brought to this team, and he said, let me make sure that you guys keep talking about me. Great hanging kick, and just immediately met the NOLA player and just turned over that ball. What an impact this guy is having today, and you just hope that, again, that little ankle niggle or whatever he's trying to shake off is all right, but this, this man single-handedly is really changing how Old Glory's playing.
Well, not only is he rewarding Coach Douglas, who picked him for this one, I think he's sending a little message to Gary Gold, the Eagles coach, say, hey, I can do it with the tackle, I can do it with the run.
Yeah, this guy being called up last year for the first time with the Eagles, and really just kind of getting more developmental minutes and experience in those camps. But of course, as you said, with a game like this and continuing to lead the team, he's putting up his hand and saying, Coach Gold, you want to take me on more tours.
You see in the back row there, Corey Daniel on the field in the 20 jersey, Vincent Coleman wearing 19. So they'll be fresh. It's been a long time coming. You saw our fan there couldn't quite believe that they're in this one. 13 minutes to play. But Fraser just stumbles at the end. Good width from Old Glory, DC. We talked about it last week. They really have played some decent patches of rugby, but now is the crunch time. They've got to finish. They're in striking distance here. Nicky's still on the park, working hard. Over the top. It's been hard to stop today. And Danny Tusitala just working hard, not getting a breather. Normally you'd see scrum halves maybe get arrested. This stage, oh, we jinxed him. Dabulis worked so hard that one. Uncharacteristic, and he's frustrated.
We should probably just stop saying good things about any of these players here, Gareth. But look, yeah, you're going to take it back here. And again, just the scrum play, the trusty play, inserting weak wing Doug Fraser, and the crowd just, they absolutely loved that reaction from Old Glory.
Rolly, the crowd thinking they got a chance here?
Absolutely, guys. The crowd for the first time this season are absolutely into it in the last quarter of the game coming up here. One thing from the Old Glory perspective, they're a little upset with the referee right now because they think that he's allowing the NOLA goal players a little bit too much time on the ground and not rolling away quick enough. Something to just maybe keep in mind as this goes forward.
Good insight there. I'm sure Stan South and a few of the others, Danny Tusitala, have planted that seed with the referee, maybe get a late penalty here.
Set.
For the moment, that knock-on means NOLA Gold have control of the ball on their own 40-meter line.
Stop.
They've gone kick straight down the middle. No nonsense. Say, listen, Old Glory, DC, if you want to win this, you got to come the whole length of the park.
Stop. Don't move.
Roberts Tanana skies that one. And a momentary reprise from the pace of this great Major League Rugby game.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of these teams, as you see now with 10 minutes left to play, neither team is going to mess with the ball in their own half. Earlier in the game, you saw they were willing to be a little bit more risky and kind of take more chances, run the ball out of their own half, but with everything to play for in these last 10 minutes, they're just going to play it safe and boot it down the field and play more territory.
Well, as you saw from our Paladin standings, NOLA Gold 5th in the East at 2-4.
Thank you.
Looking for their third win, and of course, Old Glory, DC, sniffing around, hanging around, looking for that first win at home. Good pressure. Fraser takes the space away, but Gold do well to keep the ball alive. Wheeler has had a fairly quiet day, but he works hard there.
Too many bodies.
Ignacio Dotti, the Uruguayan, just steps away and is happy to set up another ruck. We're into the final 10 minutes here. Coleman slides out for the moment. Ball's gone forward as he looked to place it. But a dangerous incursion there from the goal.
Really unfortunate for NOLA. I think Old Glory got very lucky in those phases. Something that I've noticed that NOLA does throughout the game is as they start to build momentum, they start making Old Glory hesitate a little bit. You look at the defense and they start to sit back and no one really designates themselves to make that hit. And NOLA is gaining territory because of that. And unfortunately, you know, here just a slight little knock on. But if you're NOLA, you're doing the same exact thing that you've been doing the last 15 minutes, really just staying composed and getting that go forward.
Yeah, Matthew Harmon is the man who got it through on that break. He's down for the moment. The pride of Lake Forest, Illinois, just up the road. He's taking a face to the turf, maybe. Life University product. He's 5'10", 250, so he's going for your bowling ball trophy that you tried to give to Doug Fraser early on.
There you go. Might have to compete with Pat O'Toole on that one.
Yeah. 27, Matthew Harmon, looking to contribute off the bench. We've also got Ire, the 35-year-old, lurching. He's 6'2", 294. He's the biggest bowling ball they have, but we haven't seen him yet on the field. And watch on the outside of this break from Coleman. He's in good position. He runs hard, but then let's see if he maybe just gets the face first in the turf, and that's not nice. Well, you can't question the commitment of either of these teams. They've really done the MLR proud here.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, you know, maybe this was a game that a lot of people wanted to look past because of where these two teams lie in the standings, but it's been quite an entertaining match, and I think something that both of us had promised you all, the fans, at the get-go because of the history between these two teams. Thankfully, you know, the antics have really kind of been kept out of this, largely this far, but I think, you know, both of these teams really just need to dig deep here and figure out what they're all about because, you know, both these teams haven't really been playing to what the other team is doing. It's really been a matter of controlling their own destiny.
Well, and in Major League Rugby, it's never over in the standings. We saw NOLA Gold last year came out of the gate, were 7 wins or 8 wins up, and actually failed to make the playoffs after being 8-0 on the last day of the season. So it's never over in this league.
Stop. Yeah, good.
Big hit, big tackle. Surely his feet are on the line.
Knock on only.
Knock on advantage being played to NOLA, so that's going to come back.
Cross forward. Scrum.
Just unfortunate there, and of course this is kind of what we're seeing happen, what we've seen happen all this second half is we've seen, you know, these kind of, you know, little knock-ons go back and forth, and neither team is really taking advantage of it.
Good picture.
Yeah, great stuff here. A bit of a break gives you a chance to go and tune into MLR All Access every Tuesday on Fox Sports 2. Stacey Pates and Mark Stupina bring you some really good insight and exclusive look at everything MLR. MLR All Access, America's only rugby TV show. Check it out.
Crouch.
Lots to talk about in this game.
Bind.
And the rest of the weekend, for that matter. Of course, Atlanta playing the Free Jacks simultaneously. We haven't heard a result on that one. But right now, Old Glory's trying to get their result. DC are up by 7. A little bit of a restart here for this final sort of 8 to 10 minute period. The fitness coach's work will be tested. The GPS work, analyzing how much intensity, how hard they've worked in training preseason in the months. This is when it pays off. Get very disciplined. Catch and pass almost cost them. Scooped up by JP Eloff.
Stop. Keep going.
It's a bit more direct from NOLA Gold.
Off the ball. Off the ball. Step.
I mean, they'd be happy to do this for another 7.5 minutes. They put it to the boot. And that's Nick Feeks. Robert Tanana says, I'm happy to take a lineup. We're still in this.
Yeah, and of course, you know, good to see Nick Feeks back out on the field this season. That last year, of course, not taking the field with sustaining an ACL injury. You know, this is a guy that is has come out of American colleges the American college system, and is someone that, you know, NOLA Gold took a heavy investment in, and you know, clearly he deserves the starting, or coming in today, deserves to be on the starting roster and looking to make more of an impact here. And of course, Old Glory very unhappy with how the lineout is being set up.
Yeah, Nick Feeks, one of those all the great work that's being done down here in U.S. colleges, as you know from your time at Harvard right now. It's paying off, and to have a place for these players, these great athletes, to arrive as student athletes and take up pro rugby, that's been a huge benefit of MLR. That 10 hold is JP Eloff. They're still going. It's a handhold. It's a dance. Brought down, stepping out of it, still going. It's Harley Wheeler. They regroup through Devon Short. 2 meters to go, options both sides. And they go over the line, and I think it's going to be JP Duplessis. We're going to have a look. And there may be something in the build-up that they're having a talk about.
You know, Old Glory was really unhappy. You could hear it in the mics earlier. They wanted some sort of knock-on from an earlier phase.
I think it's going to be for nothing. Sorry to interrupt, but that's a try.
No, and you know, the ref had talked to them during that. He said the ball just popped out. It wasn't a knock-on, which is why he let it play. And here, you know, you just see that he's able to ground right here. It's probably tough to see from this angle, but of course, Luke Rogan confirming with his AR here, and we'll take it back even earlier in the play. So there's where Old Glory is saying that they wanted a knock on there, but ref Luke Rogan saying, you know, look, that ball just popped out, continue to play on.
Relentless pressure from the Gold. They didn't panic here. They didn't get the white line fever. Oh, and it's actually Harley Wheeler who made the initial impact. And look at that well-judged kick. So it's all happening here.
And those last 2 points by Damian Stevens, that conversion was so important, because now that means that Old Glory has to score 2 converted tries just to tie it up with NOLA. That just makes this challenge even more difficult. You know, in the waning minutes, you got 4 minutes left in this game. It looks like the ties are really starting to turn in NOLA's favor, you know, unless Old Glory can put up a fast one here.
Harley Wheeler, another product of the American University system through Life College, that great hotbed of rugby. Also had a run with USA Sevens. Long Beach man reestablishes that 2-score lead. So time's running out for Old Glory. For not the first time this year, they've put in a ton of work. They got something to show for it, but they've only got just over 3 minutes to get 2 tries, and if anyone's going to do it, it may be Davalos there. Fraser runs across the face of the defense. Credit NOLA, they've got back in their defensive roles.
No! No, no, no! Bring it!
Time ticking away. Ngali. Jusitala comes against the grain. There's a bit of an opening. Oh, the right arm gets around the body. Sublime stuff from Dom Bailey. But he can't get it.
Let's get him on, mate. Let's get him on.
To the substitute. That was Jack Russell. Watch how he gets his right arm free and goes in behind.
Yeah, just so well done by Dom Bailey. And of course, I think Jack Russell thinks the offload's going to come up a little bit higher right at his hands rather than at his knees. But of course, when you're all tied up like Dom Bailey was, there's only so much you can do. You know, Jack Russell is a newer player. He played lacrosse at University of Wisconsin-Madison for a few semesters before he decided to convert to rugby. This is a guy, again, actually, somewhat of a local product who Coach Douglas, wants to develop. He's been really impressed with him thus far. And you haven't seen much of him yet this season because he's coming back from injury. Maybe showing why, he unfortunately knocked it on there.
Stay there.
Well, Sullivan goes off. Harmon does come on the field. And they'll be using those big boys just to suck the life out of this clock, out of this game.
Step back. Just step back.
Minute and a half to go. They're happy for that one to end up in the stands. I don't think it's going to. It's gone way back infield because of the wind. Perhaps throwing a lifeline to Old Glory. Bobbled and regathered.
And you just want to stay composed here as Old Glory, because even though, a win is very difficult, near impossible at the moment, they've already scored 3 tries. If they can get at least 1 point, they at least get into the standings here.
Well, it's going to give them 2 points in the standings because they'll be within 7, and they'll have a 4-point bonus, 4-try bonus, sorry. So, still a lot to play for here. Got to credit Danny Tusitala. He's kind of led from the front. There's the offload. This one goes to hand for Jack Russell. Oh, is that left boot in touch? No, it's not. All the way over from his other wing is Lasanga. But it's going to be a knock-on.
And just the tail that Old Glory is all too familiar with. They start to string together phases. They start to make gain line. Really nice offload there to Jack Russell, who's able to keep the ball alive with Don Bailey and Penny Lasanga. And of course, as tide starts to turn for them, unfortunately, just a foot got in the way of Danny getting clean ball, and now the knock on. And if you're NOLA Gold, you're just taking your sweet time setting up this last scrum, and all you really have to do is boot it to call it a day.
You got to credit Lasanga. He's worked hard.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
And have our final scrum. The numbers are in the red. Well, they're going to attack from their own end. They're feeling good. They probably earned this right to take a few risks. Don't know if they'd be doing this if it was just 1 score in it.
Through the middle. I'm happy.
NOLA looking for their 3rd win.
Backwards.
Old Glory with their hands on the ball, looking for 2 bonus points.
On the body.
Still going. These players are exhausted. As I said, the game will not stop unless we're on a penalty. Sorry, it will stop unless we're on a penalty. That one's over the top. A little bit of space. Good footwork. They're trying to give this crowd the last act to cheer about. One final moment. Back up hard. There's Gatas. Oh, inside. Jack Russell holds on to it.
Step.
There were numbers out there in the blue jerseys, but they've come back in field. Well, we're almost 2 minutes into extra time. Exhausting stuff. Doug Fraser balance running in space. Is this going to be it? He comes back in field. Well, just reward the dancing, the scything work from Penny Lasanga. He's been going all day, and I believe if this conversion pending, this is the 4th try for Old Glory. But Bree, what a great finish for this club.
Absolutely. All credit to Old Glory for just putting in the grit and the effort to really, 1, give the home crowd something to cheer about right at the end, and 2, make all of their efforts worth it, right? It's so disappointing to come out of this game having 0 points, and for them, to get the 4-try bonus point is everything. And if they can get this kick, then it's another point that they've got in the standings.
So for those of you new to rugby, one of the rules is if you finish within 7 of your opponent, you get a bonus point for being in the match effectively. So it'll go to the captain, Danny Tusitala. It's a tough kick. I don't think he's kicked all day, but he's been given this one. He's going to chip it over. The wind goes the wrong way, so 1 point escapes, but they've secured one with their 4th try.
Yeah, I know about the late.
Fantastic tilt. NOLA Gold will win it and get their 3rd win of the season. But Old Glory showing a lot of pride here on their home patch.
Absolutely, and, you know, talking to Kane Thompson, you know, he's got to be pretty happy with this result. Maybe not happy with how close it was, but he was really unhappy with just how flat they were coming out of last week, and this is a big step in the right direction for NOLA Gold.
So it was a back-and-forth affair. The moment of the match in the end was the final try, presented by Glory Days Grill. As they were trading blows, it was NOLA Gold who lined up, pounding away at the line, kind of summed up their day. And Wheeler just said, had enough, gets the arm over. Your Glory Days Grill moment of the match. So we're going to close this one out as there's handshakes all around. We'll have the player of the match to award. Join us back here in the nation's capital after the break.